Welcome to Bond and Bondage Helpline, where we untangle human emotions. No safe word required. I'm Stella Black. Hit the like and subscribe buttons for your weekly glimpse behind the curtain of human behavior. I know that for many of you, the topic we're diving into might be tough. It certainly is very sensitive. There's a lot of frustration, anger, and pain tied to how you've been feeling. It's important to acknowledge that you're not alone in this. Many people experience similar feelings of rejection, loneliness, and bitterness. The key is to remember that what has come to be your reality is a result of multiple factors that were at play for years, and no one individual is responsible for bringing you into this situation. The good news is that you can be that one individual who can change it for yourself, but this requires real internal strength. Getting out of your emotional hole requires you to put in the work instead of pointing fingers. When did that ever help anyone? Today, I want to talk about a way to move from that place of anger and helplessness into a space where you have the power. The power over yourself, and as a result, the power to shape your reality. What I'm talking about is the journey from being what some may call an incel, involuntarily celibate, to becoming voluntarily celibate, or voluntarily anything you decide is best for you. In other words, shifting from frustration and resentment into a position of empowered choice. The first thing to know is that this change is possible, and it starts within. Drawing from cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, social psychology, and self-determination theory, this guide walks through a step-by-step approach to shifting from involuntary celibacy to a life where you have control, whether that means voluntary celibacy, relationships, or another fulfilling alternative. More than just theory, this episode provides practical exercises that can help reshape your thought patterns, improve your social confidence, and expand your sense of self-worth beyond external validation. Bitter pill time. If you don't control yourself, you're handing that control over to other people. What does that mean? Whatever feelings you are experiencing, they are all yours to control. No one has the ability to control how you react to them. They do their thing, you control your thing. You are not the victim in this mindset. You are the owner of your domain. You're the owner of your life, particularly your emotional life. Let's start with the steps and useful exercises. Let me reiterate one more time. This process won't be quick. Buckle up. Step 1. Radical self-reflection and acceptance. Before transformation comes understanding. Many people trapped in involuntary celibacy carry narratives about themselves that feel absolute. I'm unattractive. No one wants me. Society is against me. Women are shit. These beliefs don't just shape thoughts. They dictate actions or inactions that reinforce the cycle of isolation. And that's the thing about these narratives. Their very absoluteness in one's mind is imaginary. The only absolutes that exist are those dealing with natural phenomena like the boiling point of water, for example. Everything else is in your head, and therefore changeable. Exercise, journaling for self-awareness. Each day for a month, take 10 minutes to write about your beliefs regarding relationships and yourself. Ask, what do I believe about my desirability? How have past experiences reinforced or challenged these beliefs? In what ways might my perspective be holding me back? What am I changing about myself to change my desirability? No judgment, no over-analysis, just honesty. Patterns will emerge, revealing the subconscious script that dictates your social and emotional life. Step 2. Rewiring the mental script. If you've ever thought, I'm unlovable, congratulations, you're human. But thoughts aren't facts. Involuntary celibacy is often fueled by cognitive distortions, thinking patterns that reinforce a sense of helplessness, catastrophizing, I'll always be alone, black and white thinking, women only want rich, tall men, and mind reading, everyone thinks I'm weird, are among the most common. A lot of the time, these thoughts run on a loop, without your conscious self stepping in to challenge them. I'd like to ask you to do the following exercise. Thought reframing. Pick a negative belief you frequently have about relationships. Now, challenge it. What hard evidence supports this belief? What evidence contradicts it? What's a more balanced way of thinking about this? For example, instead of, "I'll always be alone," try, "I haven't found the right person yet, but I'm working on building connections." Shifting the narrative takes time, but repeated exposure to new thought patterns rewires the brain. Step 3. Social skills, not just for naturals. Many people who struggle in relationships mistakenly believe that social skills are innate. They're not. They're learned and refined, like playing an instrument or using a tool. Some people may have had more practice or different social environments growing up, but anyone can improve. It doesn't matter if you grew up a certain way or what you've been told your skills are like. Nothing is absolute about our personalities. Everything is malleable. You can shape yourself to be a smooth operator. All you need is practice and self-awareness while you do it. Exercise, gradual social exposure. Start with small but deliberate social interactions. Make eye contact and smile at strangers. Do not ogle the people you are trying this with. The point isn't to be perceived as a creep. The point is to treat every person you are trying this with like a relative you like. Exchange pleasantries with a cashier or barista. Remember, certain themes are off limits: religion, politics, money, the person's body or appearance. Initiate a conversation with a coworker or acquaintance. Same rule of excluded themes applies here. The conversation is best done on the topics of interest to said coworker or acquaintance. Join a group activity, an improv class, a hiking club, a gaming meetup. Anything that would get you out of your home and your solitary world of self-deprecating narratives. After each interaction, reflect. What went well? What can be improved? Small wins compound over time. Don't expect to have major wins and dramatic changes immediately. Step 4. Expanding identity beyond relationships. One of the most damaging aspects of involuntary celibacy is that it often becomes a central identity. This creates a fragile sense of self-worth, tethered entirely to whether one is in a relationship or not. Instead, developing a more well-rounded self-concept leads to fulfillment that isn't dependent on another person's validation. Basing your identity primarily on relationships and how you are perceived by the opposite sex can be psychologically damaging because it places your self-worth in the hands of external validation rather than internal stability. When your sense of self is contingent on how others view you, especially in romantic or sexual contexts, you become vulnerable to fluctuations in approval, attraction, or attention. This external reliance can lead to emotional instability, anxiety, and low self-esteem as your self-worth rises and falls based on factors outside your control. Additionally, it can create an ongoing fear of rejection, making it difficult to develop a secure and resilient sense of self. Over time, this dependency on external validation can erode personal growth and authenticity. Instead of pursuing personal interests, passions, and self-discovery, individuals may mold themselves to fit perceived expectations, suppressing their true thoughts and desires. This can lead to a loss of identity, where personal goals, values, and ambitions take a back seat to gaining approval from others. In some cases, this pattern can contribute to codependent relationships, where self-worth is tied to a partner's attention, creating unhealthy dynamics of control, insecurity, and emotional enmeshment. Furthermore, defining yourself through relationships can make breakups, rejection, or changes in attraction feel like existential threats, leading to intense emotional distress. People who derive their identity from being desired or loved may struggle deeply with feelings of emptiness, confusion, or despair when a relationship ends or attention fades. This emotional turmoil can fuel cycles of unhealthy attachments, rebound relationships, or an inability to be alone, preventing the development of true self-confidence and independence. A healthy identity is built on a solid foundation of self-acceptance, personal values, and intrinsic fulfillment rather than the ever-changing perceptions of others. Exercise, personal fulfillment mapping. Create a chart with 5 areas: career or personal growth, hobbies and interests, physical health, social life, mental well-being. Set at least 2 tangible goals in each area. Maybe it's learning a new skill, hitting the gym, joining a local club, or committing to therapy. By diversifying sources of fulfillment, a more balanced, resilient identity forms. Step 5. Making a choice on your terms. After going through these exercises, it's time for the big question. What do you actually want? Not what society, parents, or online forums dictate, but what genuinely aligns with your values. The power of this process is that by the end, whether you choose to date, pursue relationships, or embrace voluntary celibacy, it's truly your choice, not a position of frustration or defeat. Exercise mindful decision-making. Once a week, ask yourself, am I satisfied with the direction I'm moving in? What adjustments, if any, do I need to make? Does my current path feel like a choice or a reaction? Checking in regularly keeps personal growth on track. Shifting from involuntary to voluntary celibacy, or to a fulfilling dating life, isn't an overnight transformation. It's a process of unlearning limiting beliefs, expanding social confidence, and developing an identity beyond romantic validation. But with consistent effort, the shift happens. The most liberating realization? You are not trapped. You have agency. The choice is yours. Pick just one exercise from this episode and commit to it for a week. Track your progress. Adjust as needed. Resources like therapy, self-help literature, and community support groups can provide additional guidance. Change doesn't happen by waiting. It happens by doing. And today is as good a day as any to start. That's enough for now. Your scars might be on the inside, but scar patches come in all shapes and sizes. Find your patch and protect them with your life. See you next week.